What's going on, guys? DannyOHKOs here. It's bright and early on Monday morning, but I wanted to get this video out because there's more premiere events coming up, and I wanted you guys to have more of an idea of what to play for Great Legend. I came in 10th place at the CoreTCG premiere event. I went 6-1. My loss was in round 1, which was the tiebreaker that, bubbled me out of top 8, which was kind of stinky, but I was happy with placing and prizing anyway. And I think the list is really strong. I lost to the mirror, but if I'm recalling correctly, it was 2 days ago. I think I just didn't have the gas in that matchup, and I had played another mirror that day, and I did totally fine, and I've played other mirrors, and it seemed fine, so I don't think this build is objectively bad against other yellow builds. I think that maybe just match didn't go for me. He was a really good player, and I think he also just knew how to play the deck. I mean, that's what I'd hope for in an opponent. That's how I grow as a player, but I think that's fair to say. If he had tested more than me, maybe, obviously he had a better opportunity to win there. So yeah, let's get into the deck profile. I think it's gonna be maybe what you're expecting, maybe not. I don't know. Let's start with the babies. I don't think you're expecting this. 4 Upa 1 Koro. So the reason I went for Upa 1 Koro, I think Koromon's good. I don't think that it's as impactful as everyone's making it out to be. I think when you can do it, it's beneficial. I don't think it's as good as potentially draw a card and then that got you the Lucemon or the Bushiagumon to play for free. I also just, the turn where you really need to dig for the Valderarm, even to kit, if they have a Valderarm, you need the Valderarm. I'm running 11 champs and 7 ultimates, and that's less than I would like. And yellow draws a lot, but this helped me get there more times than I can express. And I don't recall, I think my first mirror, that opponent might have been running 4 Upa 1 Koro, but I think the majority of the others I played, it was the other way around. So that might have been impactful as to why he won that round. Let's get into the deck. We'll start with rookies here. So, he is a rookie, technically. 2 Lucemon. For those of you who don't know what he does, he recovers you 1 on play, and you can play him for 8 less if you have 10 in your trash, which hard play for 5 in a format full of tamers is really strong. There were a lot of turns actually where I could Piddo for 1 on another rookie, especially one that I'm holding and raising, and then pay 5 to just recover 1. And that's, now I have a 10k body. They have to deal with that. He's a potential attacker next turn. I have a blocker coming up that can get into a War Growl or an Anjuamon. That play applies a lot of pressure. And we'll talk about the tamers later, because the tamers are super important to my build and I think the format in general. 2 of the Salamon that has the ESS to -1k when it attacks. This is another, it's kind of like Koromon, right? Where I think you run it, but I don't know if it's as impactful as I want it to be. One of the things it does do, I saw a lot of Bancho, and it helps you kill Bancho with Slash. So it comes up. It's definitely helpful. I'm sure there's other 9Ks that it kills. Maybe not in the format right now, but yeah, this card came up. 2 Bushi. I think we'll talk about this card the most as to why I picked some of the ratios I picked. I think after today, you run more copies of this. I think for the event I played in, 2 copies was correct. But I think now if people see my deck profile and they think you only have 2 and they're playing, one's in the trash and you haven't drawn that many cards yet, they may play less conservatively. After seeing this deck profile, maybe 3 is the right call. And we'll talk about what I think I would cut for that too. Right now, 4 Patamon. This Patamon's nuts. I really like this Patamon a lot. I really like, so if you're on 1 and I have this under a Slash or under something else while I play Slash, then I paid 3, Patamon gains me 1, you go back to 1 and you can choke your opponent with it that way. This came up a lot. If they didn't have the Tamer, this card was invaluable all the time. And it's also just really valuable if you're trying to choke them. You can slash from 3 with your TK, go to 0, and then Patamon will gain you the 1, play Pulse sometimes, choke them to 1. Really strong, really strong. Do you need all 4? You could probably cut 1 for a Bushi, I think. Pulsemon. Why did they print this card? This card's insane. This card is wild. On play, if I have 3 or more security, I draw a card. If I have 3 or less, I gain a memory. So if you have exactly 3, you get both. This card's insane. This card is wild. Playing it off, Anjuamon feels crazy every time. But even just if you're at 1 and you're on 3 or less security, being able to choke and get a rookie on board to potentially become a Piddo or a Unimon next turn. Insane. This card's wild. This card is insane. It's, I think, a 1-stack slower format. So being able to cheat him out or even just hard play him feels really good sometimes. Yeah, I sold my soul to Sonnet, you guys. I don't think they should have printed it as a promo. I don't think we should have competitively viable cards as promo exclusive cards, but maybe that's a video for another time. Finally, 2 Salamon. I think this card has a lot of merit. I don't know that I would run more than 2. I don't think I would run less than 2. I can tell you its skill is really strong, but I did not activate it one time in the whole event. And maybe that just goes to show like how far ahead I felt most of the time. I think a lot of the time I was just digivolving it on my baby because I had it too early. I would say the same for Bushi, right? Where, you know, if you have one early, maybe not pre-TK, but if you've used your TK and you see you have none of these in the stack, I can see using this as your level 3 to go on your baby. I think that's a valid play. But we'll talk a little bit more about him later too, because he's a little more involved with why I structured my build the way I did. 4 Pitto, 4 Taruri, 4 Uni. I don't think these demand a lot of explanation. I considered cutting a Taruri for a Unimon. I think maybe that would have helped me. I think I'd seriously consider making that change. We might cut a Taruri for a Uni. The 8th blocker, it's like, I was hard playing blockers so much this weekend, you guys, it's when I have a tamer and you have a tamer, it's like, okay, now you can't kill whatever, generally. And it's the difference between, if you have a Chaosmon, right, and you have a free swing for game, but I can block you and the piercing doesn't matter, that's really important against green. And I think we'll talk about green too, because I have opinions about green. Yeah, we might go 8th blocker. And like I said before, I don't like running 11 champs. 11's pretty low. It's kind of how the deck works. And I think I maybe bricked 1 game out of the whole weekend. So what are you gonna do, right? Generally it was because of these, not because of champs. We're only running 7 ultimates, and we're running 4 War Growl, 3 Angelomon. If you don't know what these do, War Growl, you can burst 2 to do minus 4k on a Digimon, and Angelomon is when digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets security minus. That really helps against some of the piercers too, or anything that might go into a Chaosmon, or Boncho. It's really good against Boncho. And then the other thing, probably the reason to run this deck, right, is Angelomon, if you have 3 or less, let's grab a Mega here real quick. We'll just grab Slash because I said I was running it. If you swing with Slash and you have 3 or less security, you can play, just cheat Lucemon out. And I'm sure most of you know that, but it's a big part of why the deck is strong. And I think some of the people who maybe didn't play test enough before these events were like, whoa, what? Same with Bushi. Bushi's a win condition, and yeah, being able to cheat him out, really important. I would like to go 4th Angelomon. I think War Growl is more important for the removal. A big part of the strategy is, like, this brings you to your win condition, but this is more important, making sure they can't get to theirs and removing theirs. And you'll see why. Let's talk level 6s before we get to level 7s. I'm running 4 Wargray, 3 Slash. Y'all know Slash is -8 on Digivolution. So yeah, we get that right out of the way. Easy to know. Wargray, when attacking, you can grab a security card to your hand, which already wild, unsuspend him, crazy, then deal 6k to any of their Digimon, which is most of the blockers are 6k or under. So you can get rid of their... So many players would be like, oh, I have a blocker though, I'm safe. And I'm like, you know what Wargray does? I'm sure maybe they just needed the draw power and digivolved it, right? So one of the big things though is Angelomon is not once per turn. There were absolutely games where I'd swing with Wargray, unsuspend, play this. And that's the other thing, is if you're at 4 security, you can activate Wargray's effect, take your security, now you're at 3, activate Angelomon, play Lucemon. And if you have Upa under there, you have a chance to draw the Lucemon because you activate the Upamon first, then play the Lucemon. You have to think about what you're doing in the right order you're doing it in, but it's not that hard. Once you know how the deck functions, Wargray's wild, man. So yeah, removal here. This is removal too. Sometimes you need the Koromon or the Salamon to remove things with these. Sometimes, I mean, I can't tell you how many times TK is important because these are 3 to digivolve. So you'll digivolve them on your ultimate that you've been saving down here, whether it's a War Growl, probably an Angelomon, because you didn't have the removal to kill their shit. You'll bring up, let's say Angelomon in this instance, if that's the plan, Slash on top of the Angelomon to give them -8, and then this kills everything. This can swing into Omni. Omni 15 -8 brings him to 7. 8 swings over the 7. So Slash, and then the other way that Wargray is removal, I mean, it's a little slower, but sometimes it's safer, right? Like, he's only 11. I think he maxes at 12 if you have a War Growl under him. So being able to kill something they have on their board by giving it -6 and then swinging over it, again, this kills Omnimon. It kills everything. And, you know, he got you some board presence before you take your swing in, and sometimes he dies to a Valderarm, or it sucks, but at the end of the day, honestly, I don't hate when these die to a security swing. Same with Slash, because it kind of justifies your Valderarm play or your Chaosmon play a little less. Like, in a weird way, I feel like this format is, I need my Digimon to do his job, and then I need him to fuck off. Like, I need this off the board because I don't want you to be able to make your power play more justifiable because it removes him anyway. And now your Valderarm's sitting in your hand where you'd rather him be on the board. Speaking of Valderarm, this card's nuts. This card's insane. For those of you who don't know, he can 2 times hit a Digimon for minus 7k. You'll notice he's 14. So he can hit both effects on the same Digimon. He can use both to kill another Valderarm, a Chaosmon, or anything weaker. The only thing it can't kill is an Omnimon, to my knowledge, in the format right now. I hope you dealt with an Omnimon before you had a Valderarm, right? Or maybe you hit it with a War Growl effect, or a Slash effect before you did this, and an 8 and 7 is 15th, so maybe this killed a blocker or something in addition. And then when it's deleted, you gain 3 memory. Pretty wild. That's kind of, not only, that's what I'm saying, like, you don't want them to get their Valderarm out because deleting it is a bigger pain in the balls than your shit getting deleted, honestly. Because if I have to, even if I have TK and I only have to Valderarm that turn, which isn't frequent, you usually have to get a Mega out too. Like, you'll have an ultimate you're saving down here, and then you'll bring it up, you'll have to Slash and then Valderarm. If you have to Mega, they're going to 9 after you kill their Valderarm because they're gaining 3. And that's a really big, like, that happened to me several times yesterday, and I was like, okay, I have so much memory now. I'd be like pulling up a rookie and I'd go Taruri, War Growl, War Gray, start swinging again. Like, you just gave me all the memory to get back to where I was. And you know I have it because I have 10 cards in my hand. This deck always has options. It felt good. A high ceiling and a lot of cards in hand is a very dangerous deck to have in the format. 4 TKs. I have a lot of thoughts about 4 TKs. I think this is the correct amount. Even our green build, we're 3 Mimis right now. Our red build's running 3 Marcus. Our rookie rush build's running 3 Davis. It feels very like the memory tamers are huge this format. I think they were good last format, and I think they were always good. But right now, having the memory tamer to play off of your opponent's memory tamer play, always really strong. Another thing, this deck pretty much always wants to go second, so you get the extra card because you're only running 11 champs and 7 ultimates. So being able to go second means you have more memory than your opponent, or than you would have if you went first and started from 0. And sometimes they'll play like a Tentomon and put you to 3, and you're like, okay, go to 1. That's a really strong play, especially when you're conserving Digimon and raising so much. That's a big part of the strategy. And being able to look at your security, which might as well be a second hand in this instance, first turn, and fixing your hand with, oh, I'm missing a champ, I'll grab Pitto, or oh, I'm missing an ultimate, I'll grab War Growl. He's just always good. The other thing is, if you don't open him, there's a pretty good chance this is going in security as a 4 of, and you're gonna get it anyway. Yeah, I love TK. I think this card's insane. I don't want to speak for Bandai. The fact that green got hit and not yellow kind of blows my mind, but I think if anything got hit, we'd be probably looking at this card first. Because I have black builds that I run TK in. He's just crazy, man. You can sacrifice the recovery to take Valderarm too. Like, sometimes that's the right play. Finally, to Blinding Ray. This card's crazy. This is another reason. So I don't think you would run Blinding Ray if you didn't run 4 TK. TK puts you to 3. Blinding Ray gains you 2. Bushi's a 5-drop. He has rush. You swing for game. That happens so unbelievably often because I run 4 TK and I have it almost every game. Even so, no security effect. That's kind of an issue, but if you see it in your security, you're just going to grab it with TK half the time. And if not, then like no harm, no foul, right? Another example, TK puts you to 3, Blinding Ray puts you to 5, Valderarm puts them to 1, wipes their board if they don't have a tamer. It's like, I see the concern running Blinding Ray maybe, that it has no security effect and that it kills one of your security, but you recover a lot in this deck. And it, you know, it makes things live. It makes War Gray live if they're playing a little more conservatively than you'd like. Sorry, not War Gray. War Gray with Anjuamon under it. It makes that live. Yeah, I think it's a really impactful part of the strategy. I don't think I'd up it to 3. It's kind of one of those things where it's like Bushi, right? There's a reason we're running these at 2. I want this card by the time I need this card. Turn 2, turn 3, you're not playing this card, but if you have it, fine. You have 10 cards in your hand. You have other things to play. You just sit on them all game. And then you see your opening. They're a blocker short, or, you know, they couldn't Valderarm quite enough attackers. You have someone coming up, but they think they're just out of harm's way. And that's when you go to 3, you Blinding Ray, you Bushi, and it's like, oh, do you have the Needle Spray or the Cannon? You make your attacks in the correct order so that you're always ending on a blocker in case it's a cannon. Yeah, that's the deck. I don't think there's really anything I didn't cover. My matchups were, I played the mirror round 1, I played green round 2, I played the mirror round 3, 2 more greens, a Anubis yellow purple, and another green. I don't want to say green's bad. I love the cards in green and I think they're really fun, but I'm concerned that they're not ideal compared to yellow. I think maybe decks that can recover just a lot are going to be a real problem in the format for this deck, and I see them being a problem for green and Rookie Rush too. And my opinion is that tier 1 would be yellow. I was thinking, before we were thinking yellow, green, Rookie Rush. Now I'm thinking yellow, red, yellow, purple, Rookie Rush. I'm unsure. We'll have to see what else topped the premier events this weekend, and then we'll see what tops next weekend, and that will give us a better idea, and then we'll know what to run for July. So I hope you guys like the deck profile. I hope you like the deck. I'm really proud of chalking up a second premier event. Are we calling this a top? What are we calling a top? I feel like with 242 players, I can call 10th place a top. You can yell at me in the comments. I don't care. Tell me what you thought in the comments. Tell me, I'm working on a spicy green list. Tell me if you want to see that. I might play it this weekend. We'll see. And check me out on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/DannyOHKOs, twitter.com/DannyOHKOs, instagram.com/DannyOHKOs. And this is Sydney's channel. Check her out too. She's all those places /SydneyOHKOs. Love you guys. I promise it won't be 6 months before we make another video again.